Good day. Welcome to another edition of Epimamungo's Perspective on Global Affairs, the X Review edition. Before I continue, I urge you to please press the like button. And if you're new to this show, I also urge you to subscribe. We have seen the Oreshnik used for a second time. It has left Ukraine devastated. Everybody now knows the full power of this weapon system because they didn't even see it. No NATO tracking system station anywhere in the whole of Europe saw that weapon flying off to the western part of Ukraine. And some people tracked it at flying at 13,000 kilometers per hour. It was a very devastating attack on Ukraine yesterday night. It's been long coming. Everybody had been expecting that this is going to happen soon, but eventually it happened. I have a statement here from the Ministry of the Ministry of Defense of Russia regarding this attack, and this is what the ministry had to say. They put out a statement where they said the full statement of the Ministry of Defense of the Ministry of Defense. It says the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation in response to the attack on Kiev on Putin's residence. Tonight, in response to the terrorist attack carried out by the Kiev regime against the residence of the president of the Russian Federation in Novgorod region, undertaken on the 9th of December 29th, 2025, the armed forces of Russia delivered a massive strike using high-precision long-range weapons based on land and sea platforms, including the medium-range mobile ground-based system Oreshnik, as well as strike unmanned aerial vehicles against critical important facilities on the territory of Ukraine. The objective have been achieved. Facilities involved in the production of unmanned aerial vehicles that were used during the terrorist attack, as well as elements of the energy air infrastructure that ensure the operation of Ukraine's military industrial complex have been hit. Any terrorist action by the criminal Ukrainian regime will continue to be met with a response. This is what the Ministry of Defense of Russia has put regarding that particular attack. And going forward now, we got a response also from who? Zelensky. Zelensky has given us a response, and this is his own response. It's a long one. I probably will not take all of it, but it has a video. It had a video accomplishment to that response. Of course, Zelensky will want to play on the fact that some of the missiles hit some apartment buildings, some of the missiles hit some civilian infrastructure, and obviously that is the ones he would want the world to see. He wouldn't want the world to see the attack on what was said to be the largest gas plant in the whole of gas gathering plant in the whole of Ukraine, even one that is biggest in the whole of Europe. In Kiev and the region, the aftermath of massive Russian strike is still being felt. All necessary services are deployed. 20 residential buildings alone were damaged. Recovery operations after the strike also continue in Lviv region and other regions of our country. Unfortunately, as of now, it is known that 4 people have been killed in the capital alone. Among them is an ambulance crew member. My condolences to their family and loved ones. Dozens of people were injured and all. Obviously, we can see now that President Zelensky is trying to play on the emotions of the international community. But everybody realized that this was coming. This came out of an account that says Russians with attitude. What did he say? He says whoever runs Zelensky account has that being incredibly arrogant about getting slapped around like kindness down. Such a dissonance in the messaging, but it somehow works tonally. A professional, yes, like I said, the person believes that they should play on the emotional part of it and not talk about the devastation to Ukraine's energy. One thing we should know about the Oreshnik, this is how effective this machine can be. We can see we are 1 minute in Vilnius, that's and then 8 in London, Paris, and it can reach the full reach of Russia's Oreshnik. So it's a very devastating weapon. It's an hypersonic weapon, and it has six missiles that come out of it one time, and all of them go and they do hit the target. We should remember that the Russians are very good regarding positioning. This year is a facility that was thought to have been destroyed. This is not 100% confirmed, but various reports are now indicating an Oreshnik missile targeted the Streye gas field as well as an underground storage facility in Lvov. In fact, after the attack, there was a glow that was all over of Lvov, and that glow was a pinkish glow one. It showed that obviously the Russians had succeeded in their attack. The next story we have here is the Overton window, Oreshnik. Still Oreshnik. Oreshnik is just the big news now. Oreshnik has turned into a video game. Let's move on now. Swift retaliation. Putin launches Oreshnik strike on largest gas storage site in Europe. This is from Simplicos the Tinker. Yes, he has put it on a Substack, and he obviously give us a story about it. So let's move on to the next story. Victor says, Victor, what did he say? He says the Ukrainian armed forces launched a missile strike on Belgorod, causing serious damage to infrastructure, but no casualties. More than 500,000 people remain without electricity in Belgorod region following the shelling. Almost the same number without heat and nearly 200,000 without water. Yes, the Ukrainians are also showing that they also have some spunk. They can continue to do some harm. I did see in a previous report, I saw the attack. I think it was in a TPP facility, and it was quite well recorded. Eugen Nordit, who his account says, I stand with Ukraine, love destroyed Russian tanks, NAFO, managing director, Franchisor International Education Company. He really does put out tweets in support of Ukraine. But sometimes his tweets are very cynical, the way he puts them. So he has a tweet of the attack. What does he say? He said Putin wants to intimidate the West by launching an attack on NATO's border. Ignat on the Oreshnik attack. Ignat is the head of the Ukrainian air defense, air force. Whenever he speaks, it talks about it. So his own framing now is that this attack was not on Ukraine, it was on the West, that it is intimidating the West. And it's working on the Western cowards. There is no one here, no EU member state or outside of them, who thinks we should invade Ukraine now and intervene in the current conflict. Meds, that's what Meds said yesterday. Nobody wants to go and find out, because you push this a little bit too far, and then you get to know why they call the Russians the bear. You poke them too much, and then suddenly you'll find out that this is the country that has the largest stock of nuclear weapons in the world. And with a delivery system like the Oreshnik now, it simply means there is no time to even run into a bunker. We saw how the same methods were used on Maduro. He just didn't even have time to run into his secure place. We are talking exclusively about military security guarantees for peace, for ceasefire. The order should be first a ceasefire, then security guarantees for Ukraine within the framework of a long-term agreement with Russia, and all of that simple won't work without Russia's consent, and we are probably still a long way from that. Metz was stating that nothing will happen without Russia, and the Russians have stated it very clearly that they are reviewing their negotiating position because of that attack on President Putin's residence in Novgorod. They take it as very, very serious attack and infringement, attempt to infringe their national capability for retaliation, nuclear retaliation. China hacks email system of multiple U.S. Congress committees. America deserves to see Epstein files. This is the most base news. Well, I'll just move on. Some of this news may be true, they may not be true, but you can't confirm them, so we'll move on with them. Prepare yourself. This is Greenland. This must be generated from AI. AI videos these days are very, very interesting. You have Grok Imagine, you have Sora by ChatGPT. Grok Imagine is by XAI, and they make so many videos that go viral to a large extent. They have a lot of AI video apps out there beyond the two I just called also. So let's listen in on what this one is
From
saying.
Black. Ich sage euch, ich war schon immer Grönländer und unser Land ist wirklich das allerbeste Land der Welt. Ich liebe unsere Eisberge, das beste
Obviously,
Land der Welt.
that is Donald Trump. Then let's move on to this Anna Paulina Luna enlists Vatican's help against Zelensky's persecution of Orthodox Christians. Yes, a lot of people forget to realize that Orthodox Christians in Ukraine are being persecuted because they feel that the Orthodox Church, the Russian Orthodox Church, is they are spying for the Russians, and they are influencing the Ukrainians on behalf of the Russians. So they now have their own Ukrainian Orthodox Church. They're imposing that church on the Ukrainian people, and that's causing some rift. Representative Anna Paulina Luna is in a very rare kind of congresswoman in the American Congress. She's one of the only few Congress people who support the Russian narrative of things. In addition to State Department, I'll be reaching out to the Vatican tomorrow morning in response to the information that I've received in the last 24 hours from the Ukrainian Orthodox members, as well as members of their own government regarding the persecution of Ukrainian Orthodox Christians. American tax dollars should not be going to a government that is responsible for persecuting and obstructing Christians trying to worship God. The Vatican has a responsibility to ensure that they are educating the international community on what's happening. The international community does know what's happening. It's just that they are so bent on supporting Ukraine against the Russians that they let a lot of infractions go. The World Cup 2026 is now experiencing mass cancellation of tickets. It's unprecedented. Actually, it's supposed to hold in America here now. This story here now, I can't confirm for a fact, but the ticket is very expensive. We got to learn that some of the tickets are like $3,000. And besides that also, it's not so easy anymore for countries to get visas to America. Besides some African countries, most of the African countries that are on that possibly will be going for the World Cup have already been banned from visiting America. I don't know what special circumstance will allow their team and their officials to come in. It's going to be a very tough one for teams. This is another ominous story, very ominous story. It's very important to know that other things are going on in the world out there apart from in Ukraine. And it says war imminent, Los Angeles, California. For the first time in more than 50 years operational history, the Boeing 747E-4B Night Watch, known as the Doomsday Plane, was seen at Los Angeles International Airport on Thursday evening. The rare appearance of this airborne command center has quickly drawn attention. The aircraft, designed to operate during nuclear conflict and in national emergencies, has been spotted in the sky, raising serious concern about the timing and purpose of its movement. Why now, and what prompted its presence over one of America's largest cities? Like I say, sometimes I'm very wary about clicking on the videos of this thing because it may just be from legacy media, and but we can very well see the plane here now. We can see this plane and credit airline videos. Anyway, I'll just leave that for now, but there's a lot of gathering of equipment, I should point out, military equipment in Europe. So the conjecture now may just be that America wants to attack Iran, or it may just be that the Americans are getting ready for a full-fledged invasion of Greenland. Whichever one we'll get to know. Breaking, U.S. is proposing 500% tariff on countries buying Russian oil, including China. That is true. Lindsey Graham has said that he put out a tweet where he said that President Trump has approved that he should go ahead with that his bill. It's a bipartisan bill. All the Congress senators love it. Over 80% of the senators support that bill to put 500% tariffs on the countries that continue to buy Russian oil. So let's move to the next story. The U.S. is now chasing 4 sanctioned oil tankers that have reflagged as Russian vessels and are trying to escape from Venezuela. The Veronica, Galileo, Malek, Sintes, Dan High, Expander, and another unknown vehicle. this is the big saga of the week, that we've been in. The saga of the Marinera and the saga of former Bellabon that was changed to Marinera. It was moving towards Russia. And what happened? The Americans mounted an operation and seized that particular ship. Many of them now, because they are carrying Russian oil, they feel that they have the protection of Russia. But the unfortunate thing for most of them is that they are so far off from any place where Russia has military assets. Russia is not a blue sea country. They have submarines, no doubt, but they can't come to the aid of these machines. They're too far away. They're in the Western Hemisphere, and for that reason, the Russians are not particularly too powerful in stopping them. But what we've got to learn in recent times, just a few days ago, is that the Russians have sent a nuclear submarine called the Belgorod, possibly to go and protect these ships. We are going to get a standoff much more than what we saw with the Marinera. In the case of the Marinera, it so happened that they were very close to the waters of the North Atlantic. They were close to England. They were close to Iceland, and for that reason, it was easier for them to be interdicted, because that ship to be interdicted, because America has extensive assets within that region. America has so many bases in the whole of Europe that it was easy for them to get to them. Two Chinese think tanks, the China Arms Control and Disarmament Association and the China Institute of Nuclear Strategy, issued a report warning the International Committee of Japan's attempt to abandon its post-war declaration on nuclear arms. The report, entitled "Nuclear Ambition of Japan's Right-Wing Forces, a Serious Threat to World Peace." Every country that has had an experience with Japan knows that this is one of the most deadly and dangerous countries that this world has ever seen. Many people forget, because what had happened during World War II was that the Japanese were quickly rehabilitated so that they could be used as a bulwark against the Chinese and the Soviets. But indeed, they were forgiven for crimes that are beyond belief. The Chinese killed over 30 million, the Japanese, I should say, killed over 30 million Chinese, killed an extensive amount of Koreans, and I'm talking about civilians here now. I'm not talking about military kills. They were a brutal empire when they tried to rule, and everybody is very wary of them. The image of Japan has really been rehabilitated and changed, but nobody forgets that this is a very brutal society. And what happened is that they became pacifist. For the past 80 years, their constitution has been pacifist. But with the coming of a nationalist like Sanai Takaichi, we now see that their rhetoric is getting to be nationalist. They are very wary about China's rise, and China is now the dominant power. But there's an article in the United Nations, international law that has been trampled upon by President Trump. Well, there's an article that says that countries like Japan and Germany could be attacked again if they embark on an attempt to rearm. Japan is a non-nuclear weapon state party to the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. There has been gradual development over the past years, which has led more recently to some quiet, direct statements by Japanese politicians, including the administration of Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi, about the possibility of having access to nuclear weapons, whether directly or via sharing agreements with the United States. This will be very, very serious, because it will be one will have to check if the Americans condone Japan having nuclear weapons, because Japan, we should point out, has the largest amount of nuclear plants. They have capacity and know-how in that nuclear space. They have over 50 nuclear plants until the tsunami that destroyed the nuclear plant in I think it's Fukushima also, and they started to move away from nuclear weapons, but I mean nuclear power. But they have this capacity, and it will be very easy for them to transit into owning the bomb, having the bomb if they want to. They also have a space program, so it won't be a problem for them to have ballistic missiles that can fit those bombs. The Chinese have every cause to be worried. Landfill collapses in Philippines leaves at least 1 dead, 38 missing officials. The Philippines and Indonesia and all that region has been suffering from heavy rainfall that has really caused devastation and destruction. So we see this, and we saw the one in Indonesia in Asa province. The rainy season and the monsoon season is very, very hard on these South Asian countries there, Southeast Asian countries, and they are really having a rough time now with rains. And obviously, this particular land area has been strained, and that may have been what happened. Breaking: Israel wants Palestine to stop posting Zionist war crimes. We are monitoring what you do online. Publishing inciting content online is considered a terrorist crime in every sense of the way and may lead to arrest and imprisonment. Of course, Israel has censored a lot. They have censored the international media from coming into reporting what's going on in Gaza. And so it has been local Palestinians that have been doing the press work, but many of them have been killed. Over 20 journalists have been killed in this conflict between Israel and Gaza. And one of the things that has undermined the Israeli state is a lot of citizen journalists posting atrocities of the IDF on TikTok and other social media platforms. And that has really changed the narrative as to what is going on. And that's what has created all the uproar against Israel in many countries, especially those in Europe. We see here now Russia struck Ukraine with Oreshnik. This is the moment, this is the Oreshnik attack as recorded. This definitely is one of the most beautiful pictures of the interesting thing is that there's a timestamp to it, and there's this silent eeriness because it was in the night. And you can see how peaceful the civilian neighborhood is. This obviously was taken off of a civil. We can see this is a residential area. These are residential homes, and it was obviously a CCTV camera that was recording it. And there's peace around it, but the devastation of the Oreshnik can be seen from it. Anyway, let's move on again and says, looks like they had a Patriot left to fire against the sky falling in. I think somebody is trying to troll Pete Hesketh here. Pete Hesketh made he made a big play of the fact that Russian air defense systems did not help Maduro when helicopters were flying over into Caracas to go and capture Maduro. And he made fun of the Russian air defense system. The Russian air defense systems, a lot of Russian air defense systems are there to protect Venezuela, but obviously from what we are seeing, as we are getting more information about that attack in Venezuela, it seems clear that there was sabotage, there was betrayal, there was money had changed down. It was more a successful CIA operation than even a military operation. So it doesn't seem like most of those air defense systems were even used to shoot anything. Kremlin alert. It's a Kremlin alert. Russia warns any Western military forces deployed to Ukraine under any post-war security deal will be legitimate combat targets. Yeah, I saw that report from Maria Zakharova. I think this is it. Russia wants. Yes, Maria Zakharova did put out she's a spokesperson of the Ministry of she's the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So this is Fox News, okay? So that obviously was what she said. She put out that statement and said, and it's not only her who has been saying it. Dmitry Medvedev has said it. Sergei Lavrov have said it. Putin himself have said it. So they say that any person, any country that sends, like we hear now, the coalition of the willing is trying to send some troops, Britain and France. Germany was just saying that all of this will not happen without the approval of the Russians. President Trump shared a YouTube video containing false claims that over 1 million people are protesting in Mashhad, Iran. Uploaded 7 hours ago, the video also inaccurately assessed that city is under control of the protesters. Yes, what has been happening is that there has been a lot of protests going on in Iran, and most of the largest of all the protests has actually been protests for governments. The government has had the support of the people, and a lot of them have been coming out in Tehran, in many cities to protest. You will call it an anti-protest protest. They are protesting in support of the government, and but there's a lot of fog of information. Misinformation is flying around. The Iranians are feeling that the Israelis are doing a lot of psych-op operations using information and misinformation against them. Putin is not going to stop until he's stopped. Not that POTUS supports the passage of harsh secondary sanctions on Russia. Senate GOP should immediately act. Putin only understands strength. Trump backs Russia's sanctions bill that has languished in Congress. New York Post. This is by Mike Pence. We should remember who Mike Pence is. Mike Pence is the former vice president of President Trump. He was the one who President Trump had hoped to go and disrupt the June 6th counting of the votes in Congress, and he refused, and electoral votes, I mean, and he fell off with President Trump. And he continues to make himself relevant because he has his eye on being the president. He's talking obviously about Lindsey Graham's 500% tariff crushing bill against the supporters of Russia, the countries that buy Russian oil, namely China, India, and Brazil. And well, breaking Russia, CNN has mentioned that, and CNN has very conveniently gone to another building, another apartment building. Russia strikes Ukraine with Oreshnik ballistic missile, one of its most advanced weapons. I'm sure I click on this now, it will take us to the CNN website, but there's so much disingenuity in the way they report the news, the legacy media. This is an apartment, and most times we've come to find out that when apartments like this are hit, it may actually be air defense systems that are falling back to earth. But beyond that also, I did see a situation. I saw some videos of Guarantee drones hitting apartments. It seemed very deliberately. And when you ask the Russians, they feel that they are hitting artisanal buildings where artisanal production of drones are being carried out. Or maybe they know that an intelligence agent also is a high value target is in that particular building. I have here now another video of the Oreshnik. Let us see what this weapon system really is.
Hypersonic speeds. The Oreshnik missile, a state-of-the-art weapon system launched from a massive 12 by 12 truck platform. It has been meticulously engineered with multiple stages, enabling it to reach orbit in a few minutes. But what sets it apart from all the rest? Well, this missile can hit hypersonic speed. Once it reaches this altitude, it transitions into a steep dive, accelerating to hypersonic speeds. During its descent, the missile's fairing opens to unveil 6 highly sophisticated warheads. Each warhead is equipped with miniature thrusters at its base. These thrusters enable the warheads to maneuver dynamically, even as they fall under the influence of gravity. It can change directions, making it almost impossible for the Patriot missile to hit its target, all in the video ahead. This is the Oreshnik missile.
So now we have it. We have more details about the Oreshnik. It is a weapon system the West has no response to. The Russians continue to output this kind of systems. Khamenei tells Trump, focus on governing your own country. Iran internet stays down 16 hours later. Yes, one of the ways by which the Iranians are dealing with what is going on in their country, because they found out that foreign agents are using bots to spread information and spread disinformation through social media. They cut the internet completely. Breaking news, the streets of Iran are flooded nightly with people who support the government. This is one of the things I just said I'm talking about. So we know the Western intelligence agencies are trying to exploit these demonstrations, and they're putting out a lot of information about it. What is the Monroe Doctrine? Somebody is trying to explain the Monroe Doctrine that President Trump is leaning on now in saying that is his hemisphere, and he doesn't want other opponents of America to be acting within the Western hemisphere. So let's get an explanation of this doctrine.
لكنها مع الزمن تحولت إلى ذريعة لتبرير التدخل الأمريكي وإرساء الهيمنة الأمريكية غالبا ما تسمى
But that's a doctrine that is leaning on very heavily in Kiev, as well as the Borispol and parts of the Borovari district of the Kiev region. Emergency power outage have been implemented following a nighttime attack according to DTEC. Obviously, DTEC is one of their electricity power companies, and they're talking about it. I'll be rounding up soon. So let me just, I think I'll round up with that story by President Trump. Putin, Oreshnik is a new generation weapon. I personally approve this production, built in advanced Russian design, and no one can stop it.
Previous achievements, and then we make a step forward. And the same thing applies to Oreshnik. Yes, there were certain developments in the past, some of them dating back to the new Russian history, and based on that groundwork, our researchers and scientists have been thinking what else they can do. They talked to the client, namely the defense ministry, and it was even brought up to my level, and I weighed in on the final decision on whether this new missile has to be produced and in what volume. This is new weaponry, short-range and intermediate-range missile. You said that several experts and the...
Yes, indeed. It is intermediate range, but it can reach all the countries of Europe, and it is very fast. It's hypersonic. It has gone into serial production, and it's already in some countries now. Belarus has some units of it. Ukraine is initiating an urgent meeting of the United Nations Security Council, Ukraine NATO Council, following Russia's use of Oreshnik missile. I wonder what Ukraine will go to complain about in the United Nations Security Council about the use of Oreshnik. It's not a nuclear weapon. It's not categorized as it's a strategic weapon, but it's not a nuclear weapon. Then I'll end with this story here now. And breaking: Trump announces land strike against cartel. We are going to start hitting land. With regard to the cartel, they are running Mexico and killing 300,000 people in our country every year. Cross-border military operation incoming. We really don't know how much of a threat most of these claims by President Trump really is. If indeed he's going to, as he says, going to go in to take the cartels. The cartels here now being those in Mexico. We know that there's drugs from Venezuela and Colombia, but we know mainly that most of the drug transition into America is through Mexico, and that's where the problem really lies. The Sinaloa cartel, all those cartels that some of their leaders have actually been caught and arrested. They're in jail now in America, and but it is still a problem. Going into Mexico is not going to be an easy thing for the Americans. Mexico, they have over 40 million Mexicans in America, and if I know the Mexicans well, they're a very, very, very patriotic group of people. They continue to lean on their heritage. They're Americans now, but they are still Mexicans. This may not happen. It will not happen. President Trump may have to have a much more concrete reason. He will have to have some logistics. He will have to have some agreement with the Mexican government. And as at this moment in time, Claudia Sheinbaum is not particularly sold on to getting along with President Trump. Anyway, this is where I'll end this particular edition of the X-Review of Mungo's perspective on global affairs. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. If you have any views regarding the opinions I just expressed, please put them in the comment section. Do well to like and share. Until my next video, you have a good day.